All right, so Saint Maud has come out. It's a new horror film, or at least advertised as a horror film. We'll get into that. But it's my first time writer-director, well, first time for feature, Rose Glass, starring Morfydd Clark. I don't know how you pronounce Welsh names, so Morfydd doesn't sound right.
Ah,
But we'll go with that. And Jennifer Ely, who basically looks like Meryl Streep.
I mean,
She's won a BAFTA, but I don't recognise
Meryl
her.
Streep's won a lot, but
Well, yeah, but
oh, sorry, you meant Jennifer Ely.
well,
Yeah.
yeah. And essentially, it is a horror film based on a young woman who is gone into private nursing, private caring, looking after a woman who played by Jennifer Ely, who is terminally ill and sort of coming to terms with the prospect of death. And it's sort of that plays out whilst the lead character of Maud, she's recently converted to Christianity, or I believe it's Catholicism, and
It's a very kind of heavily orthodox, puritanical form of the Christianity.
yeah, not
Kind of.
quite Paul Bettany in the Da Vinci Code whipping himself, but it's not far away from
I
it.
was going to
Yeah,
say
it's not
it's
far
pretty
off.
bloody close.
We'll get to that. Fucking hell. But yeah, and it sort of plays out where she believes that she is being talking to God or receiving messages from God as far as what to be doing with her life and what her purpose is in the grand scheme of things. And it sort of plays out from there. I didn't know what to expect going into it because I don't even think I thought we saw the trailer when we watched Bill and Ted maybe.
Yeah.
But apart from that, I didn't really know anything about it other than it was a new English horror film. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
Surprise.
I left the cinema feeling really strange,
Well, actually, yeah, enjoyed is probably not the right
but
word.
like, I feel like that's the sign of a good horror film in a way, like that it's actually quite affecting. Because if you watch a horror film and you get to the end and you're not like, you don't feel a bit scared or a bit strange or a bit kind of, it changes your perception of the world.
You want
And
to
if-
feel uneasy after coming out of a horror movie.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, in that way, you got to give it kudos that it actually did that.
Oh yeah, no, it definitely did what it was after. I think it's going to go through. I call it the A24 effect, where films are marketed as a straight out horror, where it looks far more like there is a monster or is jump scares or something like that. But then when you watch it, it's a lot more nuanced and almost verging on a thriller. I think if anyone goes into Saint Maud expecting out and out scares, I think you're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But that's not to say it doesn't achieve what it's trying to.
Well, there's a lot of tension and there's a lot of atmospheric build up that does bring that atmosphere of a horror movie. But the actual moments in the film that are punctuated by those kind of shocking scenes, are like those moments which are like, scary or jumpy or anything like that. They're not littered in this film. They're very selective with where they use it.
Yeah, and I think that works. That almost lulls you into thinking that nothing. You just get used to nothing happening, and then suddenly there's a quick flash of an image or something, a flashback or something that sort of makes you jump. Not in a jump scare sense, but in just like an image that you weren't expecting at all. But I thought it worked really well. I thought all the acting was great. The Morfydd Clark, who I wasn't aware of before, I thought she did a great job.
Yeah, she was perfect as that incredibly unnerving character where you can tell that there has been this incredible change because of the other characters that she interacts with know her from very different parts of her life. Like her friend Joy, who knows her from before. Supposedly there's an incident that is the reason that she went from working in a hospital into private care. And
yeah, I think it also coincides with the time she sort of converted to religion as well.
Yes,
Possibly a reason for that.
So there's the way that she interacts with someone that by and large sees her as a very well-adjusted, very normal person that had a bit of a blip, or something, and then it's kind of it's that reaction compared to how she behaves around everyone that creates this kind of sense of unease from the beginning, I'd say.
Yeah, and she does it really well in certain scenes. Well, sometimes she's innocent, sometimes she's quite unnerving, And there's a couple scenes where she's interacting with someone, and she almost comes off as quite childlike and a bit naive. And then almost like on a turn of a dime, her register and her voice changes. She starts almost coming across intimidating, which up until that first time it happens, I was like, didn't expect to be intimidated by this kind of meek-looking, almost innocent girl.
Yeah. And did you notice in the film her eyes, I think, were being manipulated on the camera? So
the colour was changing. At
her eyes were
points.
incredibly dark at certain points, and then at one point, I don't know what the name is of that condition where your eyes are different colours. But there's one moment and she's got one blue eye and one very light hazel eye. But then like in other scenes they're like dark as can be.
Yeah, it's almost like a visual mood ring. If your eyes could reflect whether you were possessed by God at the time.
It's a bit like Twilight, really, isn't it?
Hey, well, I've no Twilight slander here, my friend. But no, I thought it was great. I thought her relationship with Jennifer Ely's character, I can't remember her name. Amanda Cole, that's it. Who sort of she's an ex-dancer, obviously at the twilight of her life. And I thought their relationship as like carer and, what would you call it?
Her patient, I
patient,
suppose.
there you go. Again, I'm very hungover today, so I'm struggling to put words together. But yeah, I thought their relationship was really believable throughout the whole thing, obviously until shit goes south later on. And also the use of the setting. It's set in like an English seaside town that's probably seen better days. It was probably a tourist spot in like the 70s or 80s, and now it sort of just is what it is.
So basically any seaside town in the UK.
Yeah, they never specifically say or explicitly say where it is, but it reminded me of like I've been to Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening from Weston-super-Mare, I'm sorry, but it's a shithole. But
Weston-super-Mud.
It has like it's its own weird charm, and it's sort of the house that she's caring for this woman in is like up on the hill looking over the town. So there's half of it is set in this sort of barren large house, and then there's other scenes where she's walking through the town almost completely on her own.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a really good contrast, and I thought it added to that sense of feeling uneasy. And it also adds to the fact that I just think the film is really fucking lonely. I just felt bad for her for so much of it.
There's a huge kind of sense of isolation with all the characters, really, because you have like all of the characters are seen in isolation with each other. So you've got obviously the main character who we follow the whole way through, but then Amanda is dealing with loneliness to the point where she's looking for companionship through different means, and there's a scene with a party, but that kind of is the only time when people seem really connected.
And also, even then, Maud is sort of excluded from that experience.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
But no, I thought it worked really well. I thought the score was great, and I think, especially for a first-time director, I thought the cinematography, and obviously, I don't know, I didn't manage to do notes on who the cinematographer was, but I thought for a first-time director, it looked amazing. I thought it was one of those where every shot, you could tell that it had been meticulously crafted and storyboarded, and what you were seeing on screen was exactly what they wanted to show you. I thought it looked great.
Yeah, and also like the fact that it was 1 hour and 26 minutes as a film, it was very slickly edited.
Yeah, this is the only reason Alistair likes it, is because it's a short film.
Well, no, but it was every single shot, every single scene felt so deliberate that it didn't have that kind of lackadaisical feel to it where, sometimes you're just waiting for things to happen. Like, it was paced really nicely, I felt, which definitely helped considering the fact that they were very sparing with the amount of horror that they used inside the film.
Yeah, and I think it worked in that sense as well. And oh god, I see. This is how hungover I am. I get a thought while you're talking, and I just lose it within a minute. I felt the fact like there was no point where I felt it was dragging or anything. And although you can sort of tell how it's going to end up and what's going to happen in the end, I wasn't disappointed by that. It turned out more or less how I thought it was going to go, but it worked and it was done well enough that I didn't mind that.
Yeah.
There's only like a couple flaws in it, to be honest, really, for me.
Yeah, no, I mean,
like
it was
some use of like digital effects I thought weren't needed, and one character, that Joy, her friend. I did not like that actor at all.
No, there was that bit where they're talking inside Maud's
very dingy apartment.
dingy little apartment,
Yeah.
and it was like, yeah, it was soap opera quality acting at one point.
What was it I said? We had a pint after, and I said to you it was like someone reading a audio book, but like not like not a fiction one, like an instruction manual audio book.
We were all really worried about you.
Oh well, I'm glad it's worked out for you. Like
It's good to see you're doing okay now.
And there was a bit that was incorporates some. I don't want to spoil anything, but some angelic features added to Maud, and I was just like, I didn't need that.
Oh yeah, that
the audience already knows what's going on. You didn't need to push that boundary any further.
yeah.
But aside from that, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, let's go to ratings. What did you go for?
Well, I've sort of been stuck between two numbers, and it's one of those that I wasn't sure exactly. I knew I liked it, but I wasn't sure exactly how I felt when we came out. But the more I thought about it, the more I like it. I'm going to go an 8.
An 8?
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I bet the two numbers you're thinking between are a 7 and an 8.
Well, it's a bit late now. You can't say that now. You're just
But
cheating.
were you going between a 7?
Yeah, it was between a 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's not 9. Like, it's a good
Yeah.
film, but it wasn't 9 territory.
No, it wasn't. And I'm probably...
Let me guess. You're going to go lower than that.
Well, I was gonna go 7, but you know what? Actually, I'm gonna agree with you. Actually, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10.
Well, because I hadn't decided even when we started doing this episode, and the fact that we've been talking, it's one of the few reviews we've done where it's 90% positive.
Yeah.
I actually had to force myself to include the negatives, so that pushed me more towards an 8.
Yeah. And I mean, there were some things that could have been done better in general. Like, they probably could have been a little bit more gratuitous with certain kind of horror elements, because although it wasn't badly paced, there were bits that were a little bit too calm, maybe.
Yeah, I could have done with a few more horror moments.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, I think if you go into it expecting those, you're going to be disappointed. It reminded me of It Comes at Night, if you watched that a few years ago, where the trailer made it look like the most terrifying thing ever. And obviously the title alludes to something coming at night. And people just complained because nothing came at night. And I was like, I loved that film, but so many people slated it because it wasn't like an out-and-out horror.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but the bad dreams the visions come at night. That's the point. Right? But yeah, it's one of those, like, if you go into it without expectations of out-and-out jump scares and gore, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah.
And also, just a little warning, there is a scene involving, I believe it's Converse, where she walks around the town slowly, which it made my skin crawl. It was the sound, the overdubbing of sound effects in it. It was not pleasant.
Yeah, that one was particularly good.
Yeah,
the fact that there were actually a couple of people in the cinema this time, but
it was quite busy actually.
Yeah, I mean we were fine. We had like our own little bit, but yeah, no, it was the busiest I've seen a cinema in a long time. But
and there was
an
few
audible
like, oh my god,
when that scene happened.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable with foot pain, I'm just gonna warn you now, because it's not. I've never had any problems with that before, but that was not pleasant at all.
Yeah.